Kinda Katie or kinda crazy. When I figured out that skipping one class would give me a full week's vacation the week before exams, I devised a scheme to visit 8 major cities and a handful of towns across 4 European countries in 8 days, packing only one not particularly large backpack from an old Williams alumni promo. And here's how it all took place. I picked the cheapest plane, which is at 7 a.m., and it takes an hour to get to the airport, and you have to be there like 3 hours early because it's an international flight. So by the time all of that happened, I was like, oh, I'm not going to be sleeping at all. So, yeah, so it's like 7 p.m. I'm just like walking over there right now. Well, I'm going to walk farther away and then take a bus and wait overnight in the airport. Okay. This is why this is not an advice channel. Just walking through there right now and I just can't handle it because I don't want to leave. So anyways, after that emotional breakdown, I walked to Port de la Chapelle, an hour and a half away. I got on this metro bus. I talked to my mom while I charged my phone at a lone outlet. I found a more loungy place to lounge, and I slept on the floor of the airport for about an hour-ish, whatever I could manage. I got through security as soon as it opened, and found this sofa situation for some comfortably luxurious sleep. And finally boarded my plane to Berlin, Germany, where I sat on the floor of the airport and did my makeup while I waited for my phone to charge, because my phone when I was in Europe only lasted for like 2 hours, even if I was barely using it. But then it healed when it got back, I don't know. And I filmed a long rambling video explaining what my mom told me the night before about how she's excited that I was visiting Germany at the age of 21 because that's the age that my great-grandfather left Germany. So with some confusion, I found the train and took it down to the city center, and I'm in Berlin, Germany. And I'm gonna go meet up with my friend at the Berlin Wall. Dear Mr. Gorbachev, tear down that wall. Oh, so yeah, so I'm here at the Berlin Wall. Yeah, so this is really good. I think this is the Berlin Wall, and then that's like that's like where the border apparently was. Like it's just like metal rods now. But there was never anything. They just put them there. And 8:59 further. My mom told me to do that too. So, the point is I'm here in Berlin at the Berlin Wall. Oh. We did a rapid-fire tour of Berlin landmarks according to ChatGPT, including the Brandenburg Gate and Checkpoint Charlie. I wandered around on my own a bit while my friend checked into the hostel, and then I wanted to go out and hang out by the river a little bit. So yeah, it's just like crazy because like we're in Berlin, Germany, and it definitely feels like I thought Berlin, Germany was gonna feel like. It's very like, well, I mean, it's like physically like a little bit cold, but it's like gray. Oh, it's also physically gray, but it's like feels gray. You know? It's cold and welcoming and like so weird. So it's kind of great. So it's like not like cute or anything, but it's like I'm like cool there because oh my god, it's like it's like very, very Berlin. Yeah. So it's like it's actually kind of exactly what I thought it was gonna do. It's actually quite contenting. Going a little bit of an adventure while my friend sleeps in. It's like a weirdly cold May 3rd, 4th. I saw more ChatGPT must-sees before meeting up with my friend at the Berlin TV Tower, which had a 360 view of the whole city and was just about worth the €26 ticket. Next, it was on to another section of the Berlin Wall. This was the East Side Gallery. My friend got bored of walls and just headed straight to the bus station at this point. But I wanted to check out this abandoned airport that was converted into a park. I don't know, it was kind of cool. And I saw some other random German stuff along the way. before hopping on a bus over to Lübeck, Germany, where we were honestly pretty beat, so just took in the city through our hour-long walk over to the hostel. And since there were already 2 twin beds and online check-in, I might have told them that there was only one person staying there, so the room was €90 for both of us for both nights. The hostel was so cute and cozy, in fact, that it took a lot of emotional effort the following morning to leave the hostel and go exploring. The town was crazy fairy tale cutesy, but also very cold that day. I was bundled up in a sweatshirt that I ripped off only for the pictures.
I'm here in Lübeck, Germany. Woo!
So we wound up going back to the hostel for the afternoon and watching 50 Shades of Grey on the TV. Still, I managed to escape the cozy place for the evening to watch the sunset on the harbor. In the morning, we took an hour-plus-ish bus to Schwerin, Germany.
I am here in front of an actual German castle. This is Schwerin Castle, and isn't it exciting?
This place was the stuff of magic, although I would have made it pink instead of beige. And since, in true medieval princess style, I had hours to kill, I spent half the day just laying in the grass, slightly resentful towards the universe that I was raised like a commoner. And next came another crazy travel segment of this Northern European tour, taking a bus over to Amsterdam. We'd need to do a transfer, so I scheduled a 4-hour one in the middle of the night in Hamburg so that we could explore another city on the way. Another friend warned me that Hamburg was kind of lame, but I found it absolutely entrancing. After stopping by McDonald's for an authentic Hamburg hamburger, we marveled at the hauntingly lit St. Nicholas Church, which was bombed in World War II so that only the tower remains. We then wandered through the Old Elbe Tunnel, which was built in 1911 underneath the Elbe River. It's now a pedestrian path that, although I think technically closed at the hour that we were there, was still unlocked for us to wander. We enjoyed a somewhat eerie walk along the harbor, thanks to these abandoned carnival booths. The harbor was incredibly sparkly.
There's something kind of mysterious and shining and magical here. I don't know. Oh. It's like... Okay.
And then we kinda slept on the 1:10 to 7:15 a.m. bus to Amsterdam. Although we later realized that our Flixbus made us stop very close to where we ended up needing to go, we walked something like an hour and a half to the Keukenhof shuttle station. Amsterdam was actually the origin of this whole Euro tour after another friend from Williams told me that Amsterdam is famous for its tulip fields in early May. Except it turns out that the tulip fields aren't really in Amsterdam, but in the nearby town of Lies, which you can visit with a $17 shuttle ticket and a $20 garden admission. Since I was worried about missing the shuttle for our timed tickets, we went super early and waited in the locker room for a few hours before finally getting in, and by that point, honestly, quite a letdown. Although the tulips in Keukenhof Gardens were still blooming, the fields surrounding them were all chopped down by then. Maybe I was just grumpy from my temperamental Flixbus sleep, or just plain freezing amidst this late springtime cold snap. But it kind of just felt like another botanical garden from America. In any case, of course I did brave the cold for the photo ops. We returned to Amsterdam and checked into our hostel, where we were sharing a room with a bunch of strangers. Oh man, so it's my one and only night in Amsterdam, and I wanted to go explore. My friend went over to the red light district. Came all I got a bright start the following morning on a ChatGPT curated self-guided tour. I loved that Amsterdam had a very specific character to it. I had to ration my picture taking by my usual excessive standards because my phone was perpetually dying. Although it feels so silly and boring to keep talking about the weather, I will say this is the day that it finally started warming up. Some tense high moments, but we did make it on our ride to Brussels, Belgium. It only took about an hour to walk from one end of Brussels to the other, and along the way we got to see this old architecture that looked almost dystopian under construction. This hostel was really nice and had an awesome view of the surrounding rooftops. We spent the morning in Brussels on another ChatGPT curated scavenger hunt, including various churches, the Grand Place, and the Royal Palace. We took an afternoon Flixbus to Bruges, Belgium to do the same kind of thing. Bruges was incredibly charming, but after 5 months in France, I was already long since desensitized to beauty and history, and found myself profoundly bored in the 5 hours I spent in this town.
So, here is Bruges, Belgium, and we just had a little day trip here very casually. It's the last full day of the Rapid Euro tour. But it's very peaceful here. This is called the Lake of Love, and if you look at it, then your dreams come. I made that up, but yeah. Oh.
Apparently the Lake of Love did actually have some magic powers because...
My dreams have come true. I'm on a double-decker bus. I almost missed it.
We said an early morning goodbye to Brussels, making sure not to miss this apparently iconic statue of a boy peeing, before hopping on a 3-hour Flixbus to Luxembourg City, Luxembourg, a city built across a valley, with giant bridges connecting the upper towns over the lower town. We had timed tickets to explore the Bach Casemates, a network of underground tunnels built primarily in the 17th century from the cellars of a medieval castle. It was ultimately somewhat disappointing because it was pretty commercialized, but for only €8 per student, it was worth checking off the bucket list. And besides, we cut costs in the next segment of the trip because public transportation in Luxembourg is entirely free. It includes a network of buses and trains that go pretty much everywhere in the country. Some of the buses are even equipped with USB and USB-C ports. You just have to be careful about your scheduling because some of the transport options, especially in the rural areas, might close down in the very early evening. We took a train and a bus to Vianden, a town on the other end of Luxembourg famous for its castle. I bought a €7 entrance ticket and changed into a dress to play princess for the afternoon. It was lovely. And then we had to race back to the city so my friend could make his flight.
Just said goodbye to my friend, and now I got another until 2 a.m. to kill him.
This proved to be the start of a kind of dreamlike solo adventure of darting back and forth like a mad woman between the hills and the valley. I won't bother trying to explain what was happening in my mind that night, but man, I was just wandering through the sunset and then through the dark. Got an unsolicited in-French compliment from a stranger that sent me into another existential crisis on the purpose of beauty. I don't even know, folks. But Luxembourg will send you through it. I felt so alive, even though I was physically disintegrating. In any case, I did make it back on my 2:10 a.m. bus back to Paris. So there you have it, and there you go. I made it back to Paris alive and 4 countries richer. But before you go, here's a picture of the Williams friend who I suspiciously alluded to throughout the video, so that you know I did not make him up. He just thinks my vlog is kind of crazy. But since you've survived my ramblings for this long, I hope to see y'all next time on Kinda Katie.